favor?
Makes you want to go down for another tour, doesn't it? They have a vacation.
Winter, Ashland and Comstock. No, we got moved to Ashland. We have events here tonight. Right, yeah. From this point on, dude, the first loss, the loss now, it's emotional.
All right, we will call the meeting to order. It is a minute. Let's go slate at 6:01. Roll call, Alyssa. please.
Brett,
Here.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee.
Yes.
Moving on to 2.1, there is a copy of the Open Meetings Act on the wall. Feel free to take a look. Number 3, approval of the agenda. Any amendments or changes to said agenda that you've read? Okay, skip it. Here we go. My bad. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now moved on to number 3, approval of the agenda. Any changes or amendments as seen fit? So moved. For a second,
Second.
Alyssa.
Alex.
Yes.
Renee.
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di.
Yes.
We do have 2 sets of minutes for 3.1, the January regular board meeting and then the special meeting. Any changes or amendments need to be made? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve both
So
sets?
Both sets.
Second? Okay. Discussion, Alyssa?
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Bob, or excuse me, Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di.
Yes.
Moving on to the claims. Any questions on any said claims? Hearing none, can we get a motion to approve all claims with the exception of the one submitted by Carmen Sullivan?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, Alyssa?
Alex.
Yes.
Renee.
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di.
Yes.
Can we have a motion to approve the invoice for Carmen Sullivan?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion, Alyssa?
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Abstain.
Mike,
Yes.
Di.
Yes.
All right, moving on to informational items, section 4. You have the treasurer's report, listing of all the funds. Questions on those? Moving on to 4.2, policy review, Brandon.
Okay, policy review is out of the 3,000s. Most of them are very straightforward. They're policies that we've recently reviewed or written. I don't think there's anything kind of out of the ordinary that would require a whole lot of conversation unless there's something you guys want to talk through in those policies. I just want to get them in front of you.
Any questions for Brandon on those said policies? Everybody comfortable moving on then? Perfect, here we go. 4.3 administrative reports. First one up, elementary principal, the report is attached. Any questions on any of those reports that would be attached? Skipping down to 4.3.7, Brandon.
With my report, you'll see it's attached. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. Hopefully you've had a chance to review. The 3 goals are the same that they've been before. A lot of the verbiage remains. I change just a little bit each month depending on what we have going and what we're doing. Other items on there, updating construction, the track RFP, and then legislation. I try to communicate that out more on a weekly basis than wait until the board meeting. So if you do have questions as far as that's concerned, please let me know.
Questions for Brandon from his report? Excellent. Moving on, 4.4 communications. I did not have any attached, I didn't miss any, correct? 4.5 audience comments. I'll read my script if we do have audience participation tonight. Any audience comments tonight? Okay. We're gonna keep it efficient then. 4.6, discussion of the district strategic plan strategy for board governance. Brandon.
Okay, the strat plan is attached. If you remember, as we put this thing together, working with NASB, all of 4, I think it's 4.1 and 4.2, comes under board governance. The 4.1, ensure meetings are effective, efficient, and orderly, focused on policy, proper board governance, professional conduct. 4.2, sustain professional and collaborative working relationship with superintendent, support and advocate for the growth of student learning. I don't have a lot to say here because this is more kind of you guys' baby is within the strategic plan. If there's something I can do to help support, if there's information that you need, I would just ask you let me know and I will get it to you as soon as possible. I don't know what you guys have to add to that.
Any comments as per the strategic plan? I don't have a comment on the strategic plan, but the email that Katie sent out on in association with the strategic plan.
Right, self-review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Can we maybe have that done by next meeting? Is that cool? Everybody get a copy of that?
Yeah.
Of the email, correct? We would need to communicate with her about sending out.
I just wanted to ask since we were up in meeting.
Yep.
We'll try and have everybody have that completed by next meeting for the March meeting. Okay. I'll send Katie an email in the morning.
Okay.
Take care of that. I'll just have her send it out to everybody on the board and everybody can get it done by the next month. Yep. Any other comments in relation to strategy 4? Hearing none, we're proceeding. 4.7, discussion of current construction project, Brandon.
Okay, we're trying to wrap this thing up, get it done. There's a couple items for potential action later on in the agenda. Pieces that are outstanding right now that have not been completed or completed to satisfaction would be the second floor science classroom, the first floor high school hallway, the mechanical screen on the north side, and then I'm going to throw in the gym HVAC. I sat in on a meeting with SES, MCL, and myself. They had met previously and included Ray Martin and Mechanical Sales with the humidifier issue on this latest leak. They proposed 5 essential fixes to make sure it doesn't happen again. Part of it is design error and part of it is installation error. And I'm going to do the best I can to explain it in lay terms and pretend like I know what I'm talking about here. So under the humidifier, there is a plate that was supposed to be installed that dissipates water out to the sides before it penetrates membrane. That plate was not in there. On top of that, there's piping that comes down through the decking into the building that should have been sealed, caulked, had a sleeve, something. That didn't exist. Plus, there was no damper for wind, direct wind. So it was coming through, bypassing the heating element, and then just taking a straight line down the piping, which is where the water came into the building. We caught it fairly early, and Cohen got a lot of it cleaned up. MCL is going to have a mold assessment done here before the next board meeting. So we'll have that information. As far as corrections they're gonna make, they're gonna put, they called it a chase plate, but they're gonna put that plate in as it's supposed to be. They're gonna add a shield to redirect airflow. They are going to move the intake. They're possibly gonna add a second heater. All of that is on them to take care of. It's design and install air. There's one piece that Sherman is still in conversation with them about, which would be a sensor within the hub of the mechanical, that if it reaches a certain temperature, it would cut off and drain any water, so we don't have that split pipe issue again. Because that unit is actually rated for -40 degrees, and it never got to -40 degrees, so that's a failure on that end. But a sensor within the casing would just be one more safety net that we would have in order to avoid this happening again. So that is the explanation that they gave it to me. They're going to get back together with Mechanical Sales and Ray Martin, and then they'll come back and set a meeting with me. I've also reached out to Tony with MCL for he and I to have a quick conversation before he meets with the committee to try to wrap all of these things up that we're doing, get the contract closed out and finish with those financials. Questions on construction?
How does that all impact? Because aren't they gonna, I guess, is it dependent on the mold testing if they have to sand it down and?
Yeah. It will be dependent on the mold testing. It's also going to be dependent on how that floor acclimates. So by next board meeting, we should have a really good idea of where that floor is going to be. When it first got water on it, those boards were cupping on the edges really bad. They got all the moisture out. They laid back down. We're going to see where they're at once those measures are taken away as to whether that's where the flooring is going to be. I have a copy of the documentation, MCL has a copy of the documentation from Paul Davis and from themselves and from me as far as here's the timeline, here's what happened, here's what we saw. So if sometime in the future we see that this starts coming up again, we can reach back out. The other part that I had them put in there, because we've been back on that floor, is they specifically said there's no damage that we can do if we use that floor. Like, we're not going to create an increased instance of the floor warping because we have kids on it. So I think we have all the documentation we need for now. Now we just need time to make sure it stays where it is.
So who's on the hook if we already sanded it once in the middle of the floor, now we sand it again in the edge of the floor?
Yep, that's gonna be a conversation we have to have. In talking with MCL, they would agree that that's not on us. I think my push for that would be to have the floor replaced, because with a floor, you get a certain lifetime out of it.
That's what I mean.
Every sanding, you get like maybe 5 or 6 sandings out of it, maybe one more if you take really good care of it. But we've already taken 2 sandings within the first 2 years of its lifetime, so we've cut
40%.
So what normally do, how many years do you do it before you sand again? Every?
10 to 12.
That's what I thought, okay.
somewhere in there.
So we're taking basically 20-some years off the.
So if it were to require that, that'd be a conversation we'd have to have further, but again, documentation's in place so everybody is aware and understanding.
That's why they got insurance. Other questions on current construction? Efficiency, I like it. 4.8, discussion of track and field construction project with representatives from Pivot Turn.
Okay, I'm gonna start out here. ME Collins and KSB are working through contract right now. They're hoping to have something resolved by the end of the week. Part of that is going to be dependent on the conversation tonight, especially around the track piece of asphalt versus the post-tension route. The other piece of this is the field construction, whether that's included, is it phased, is it a completely separate project? I'm gonna turn over to Alex and Mike just to discuss a little bit, and then we can go from there.
So I had a chance, again, 2 weeks ago, I think I got, Robert and I and Chad got to go down and see some fields that this company, Charlie and his brother Billy, they run a company called Pivot. Pivot, they do fields all over did I say it right?
Company's called Tincata.
Tincata, but the product is Pivot. And I felt it was necessary for us, not to make any decisions on what we're doing today, but to bring these guys, because what this surface, what it can do, what it does, the pros and cons, what it used to be considered from a safety standpoint of the turf to what it is today. The safety, biggest thing is it can be used all the time. I'm not asking more than this is educational, but I would like to see if Charlie would like to come up and his guys come up and just kind of give a little bit of backdrop of their company, who they are, what they do.
Sure.
Alex, anything?
My name's Charles Dawson. I'm with Tincata. Our product is called Pivot.
Pivot.
I'll tell you a little bit about our company. We've been in continuous business since 1704. I'll say that again so it sinks in. So we often say, if you work for a company older than the United States, raise your hand. That would be us. We are the inventors of artificial turf, back from the original one of the 60s. And our newest product that was just NFL approved by the BioCore Lab just this last week is the safest, most player-friendly, longest-lasting surface that we've ever developed. From a company standpoint, we'll build about 1,100 fields this year. We've got 14 NFL partners. We've got about 50 Division I partners, including every surface at the University of Nebraska up the street. Every product that we talk about is manufactured in the USA, and every component of the system that is constructed is typically built by our people. From a safety standpoint, it's really not close to any kind of natural grass that you would find maybe outside of an NFL stadium or a FIFA stadium. From a impact attenuation, from a user-friendly shin splints, I don't care if it's kickers, dancers, cheerleaders, band, softball, baseball, football, this will positively impact more students, arguably than any other classroom on the entire campus with what it has to do. A fine natural grass field is good for about 160 hours a year, assuming it never rains during an event. These fields are 12-year warranty, useful life on it about 15 years, with no limitation, no prorated, you name it, you can do it on it. So that's kind of an introduction of who we are, what some of our products can offer, and I was just going to see if anybody had any questions for us.
You mentioned safety.
Yes.
Compared to an NFL field, like because we've heard for multiple years now that NFL's studying lower leg injuries.
Yep.
What do you know about this compared to that?
So our Gen 3 turf, which was last year, the Gen 4 turf that you guys came and took a look at, the Gen 3 turf over a 15-year study was a 0.1% difference in natural grass and artificial turf and injury rate. In other words, it was within the margin of error. There was really no difference. Now remember, we're talking about NFL natural grass, not natural grass at the city park or natural grass at your high school. So in order to get natural grass that's going to perform, even like last year's Gen 3 turf, you're talking about fields that have a useful life of 100 to 150 hours a year and have basically an unlimited budget. You're never going to get that. You're never going to sustain that on any kind of recreation, parks, municipals. As a matter of fact, a lot of the NFL teams can't even sustain it. So what our Gen 4 Pivot did is the NFL established the finest natural grass with the safety standards imaginable, and that's on day one. Lab-built grass down, that's when grass is always at its finest. We can outperform that even in certain circumstances, but what the NFL then does is they have a tier 2 grass, which they say at game 8, this is what your expectation is for grass, because grass cannot withstand. Even in the NFL schedule, these guys play 8-9 games a year, and they have a tier 2 grass system. And then after game 8, they have a tier 3 grass system. So even NFL, FIFA natural grass, you have here, which is perfection, straight from the lab, day 1. Halfway through the season, it drops off significantly. And then at the end of the season, it drops off, especially in climates where it's really, really cold and it's really hard to grow grass. What the pivot system does is it maintains tier 1 status on the NFL testing 365 days a year, even in high moisture content, which means rain, and even in freezing temperatures, which means Nebraska. Okay, so it doesn't matter, because so a natural grass field, if the moisture content gets too high, the field will divot. But if the moisture content's too high and it drops below 32 degrees, your field will freeze. So most of our impact, even though natural grass will it gets a pass on a lot of stuff, what a lot of people don't realize is when you have moisture content on a natural grass field and it drops below 32 degrees, you're playing on plywood in many, many cases. Grass may look good, it may be dormant, but it is highly volatile, highly inconsistent, and without the funding and the budgets of the NFL's, difficult. A lot of people don't realize almost every natural grass NFL stadium in the north is heated. So they have heating under the field to make sure it never freezes. Why? Because all of our impact standards and all of our safety standards and everything for the player goes down the tube whenever the temperature gets into the low 30s. So with this system, it doesn't do that. We can guarantee NFL quality surfacing, NFL top tier safety in all conditions with a 12-year warranty.
What are most people offer for warranties on the actual turf itself?
8 years. So this has a 50% longer warranty and a almost twice what we call useful life. So 15-year is what we are going to. You got a 20-year piece? Yeah, let me show you guys this. So this piece right here, if you guys look, you'll see where we cramped it down. This is 20 years of wear. 20 years. That's a
Brand new on the edge.
brand new on the edges. We can't tear this stuff up. And it's the technology of the system that has allowed us to extend the warranty to the end user. So from a physical responsibility standpoint, there's two real advantages to any school district. One is it's going to last 50% longer than even last year's turf lasted. But secondly, there is no maintenance. You blow the field off if you get leaves, you blow the field off if you get pine straw or trash. Many instances, in our experience, the hardest person to hire at a school is a maintenance guy. The guy that makes $15, $18, $20 an hour, you typically have a high turnover, it's hard to get them to do what they need to do. This is a blow it off. Have you guys ever seen the rubber, where the guy gets tackled and the rubber moves? There's none of that in this surface. So what we did is, at our European plant, we established some very strict environmental sustainability programs. So we got rid of all of the infill. What was wrong with the infill? Well, it would mitigate into downstream when you got a lot of rain. It used to be manufactured with a substance called PFAS. I don't know if you guys have heard the term PFAS yet, but it was a manufacturing lubricant that caught some bad press. Okay, we've eliminated that. So it's 100% recyclable. This is the first turf product that's 100% recyclable. It doesn't have all the infill in it, so there's no separation necessary, so you can do a lot more things with it from a reusability and recyclability standpoint.
And we do that.
And we do all that stuff. We do it in Europe, and we also do it in the USA.
And you all, show them the pad too, and
Well, while you do that, question from what you just said. I've heard people against artificial turf say, it's not healthy, it causes cancer, blah, blah, blah.
Sure.
By taking the infill out, is that the piece that separates
Yes.
that argument from this?
Sure. So we started hearing in the industry with the high rubber fields, there was a cancer risk or there was a health risk. Now, there's no science to back that up. Even the European Union couldn't back it up, and they have done arguably more studies than the U.S. by a long shot. And then the PFAS is the manufacturing lubricant that was also attributed to that. So even though we didn't have the science to back up the possibility of a health hazard on the rubber infill or on the PFAS, we eliminated both of them. So this is cliche, but once the parent believes that something's bad for their kid and they read it in the media, it almost doesn't matter what you tell them. So a lot of times it's just easier to eliminate it. So we've eliminated those two risks, and on top of that, made it fully recyclable.
In the maintenance side of it, by taking the infill out, is that what limits the maintenance?
So our Gen
lack
3,
of?
so our Gen 3 turf had the infill. You guys know what I'm talking about when I say the infill, little rubber pellets, sand pellets. Those have to be added, redistributed, leveled. They're really, really hot. They're tough on kids. That's gone. So now that you don't have to redistribute or add, you literally just blow off the field if you get trash. Even on a full-size field, we make a pull-behind blower, 45 minutes. But there's no grooming, additional infill, anything like that.
And it's 35 degrees cooler than a normal rubber field. So we did the Nebraska's field, and it's a Gen 3 turf with rubber. And so if you put the pivot field beside it, it would be 30 to 40 degrees cooler than even that field, another safety.
The rubber exacerbates the heat, right? It's a cap on it. Rubber's an insulator. The heat hits it, it can't penetrate, so it gets trapped at the surface. And then the maintenance on top of that. So what we were trying to do with the development of Gen 4, and guys, it took us, this wasn't overnight, it took us 4 years, and we've got almost $40 million invested in the R&D in this pivot system. We started in Europe where FIFA rules. We started in Europe where FIFA runs everything, got all of our FIFA certifications. So if you're soccer, this is a FIFA certified product, which is the highest level for soccer. Brought it to the U.S., introduced it in January of 25, hoping that we would install about 30 fields this year, 340. Just about everybody that goes on it immediately converts from the Gen 3 system. That's significantly different from a technological breakthrough. Other questions? Just general impact of kids. Do we have band on field? Do we have dancers? Do we have cheerleaders? Just the impact of over and over and over, this will be much, much better for the overall athlete. Coaches start feeling soreness in their legs.
What was the study you did? There were 3 schools you were telling us about, 3 colleges that.
So for the first time in our history, and my original contribution to the industry was the sand and rubbers. Well, that was my first patent, just over 25 years ago. So to get to Gen 4, so our first 3 Division I's on this was Missouri State, Rice, which is in Houston, and Louisiana Tech. For the first time, we've never monitored a program that did not have a lower, non-contact lower leg injury in a season. All 3 of them, 0. Okay, it's the way it releases. Our turf systems will lock up in certain functions. The rubber's sticky. Natural grass will lock up. It's designed to release on contact so it doesn't put the kid in a bind. Now, let's say you're not going to have them. Of course, there's a variety of ways to have lower leg injuries. But our injury data is on the decline, and the trends are unbelievable. Even in our FIFA, which Premier League, Liverpool, Manchester, all the way into our Division I partners, and of course our high school rec partners. All of our injury safety trends have been pretty significantly lowered.
Is it safe to assume the cost of that product today is going to be the same or more expensive next year?
Have you ever seen a price go down? No.
I mean, from your other products,
No.
I mean,
It's, it's going to inflate for one, and we've never gotten a decrease in our resin or raw material pricing. So even though we manufacture every single thing that we would talk about tonight, we buy those resins from third parties, whether they be Dow Chemical, could be Exxon, could be Chevron. We've never seen a resin price decrease, ever. So no. 5% is 3 to 5% is a pretty conservative figure. Sometimes could be more. You guys know with inflation last year, we were at 10 or 12%. So it just kind of depends on some of the volatility of the market, et cetera, on whether or not. But it's not going to go down. I can tell you that for sure. Other questions?
Well,
Yes, sir.
an aesthetic question. How long does paint last? Do you change the paint?
You can. Well, we would permanently install every marking on your
Okay.
field, which would be your numbers, your hash marks, your 1 yard markers, your colored end zones. But for example, our New England Patriots field is solid green, and they paint it every Sunday. Because then they have Premier Soccer League games in there, so they take the paint off. So the paint question comes down to how long do you want it to last? They have paint, if you wanted a solid green field, I don't think you do, because it's a maintenance nightmare. You can get it to last 48 hours, you can get it to last 30 days. So there's a variety, but everything on the field would be permanent, which means whatever you're budgeting for water, fertilizer, paint, manpower, all that stuff goes away.
This would be what like your white lines, it's all turf.
Yeah. And this is,
Oh, okay.
Yeah, everything's turf.
so that's baseball dirt, for example, it's all,
Everything's turf. There wouldn't be any actual paint unless you came out on Cancer Night in pink, October, and you wanted to paint a pink ribbon, you could actually paint that on and dissolve it.
Oh,
But everything else is permanent.
or if you had a 1 year sponsor, somebody said, we'll give you X number of dollars for this game tonight.
You can stencil that on.
You can stencil that on, no problem, then it come right off. We're seeing that more and more. We're getting, and you guys are pretty good too. We've got a lot of schools down south that'll get $7,500 for a game to be the company of the game of the night. They'll stencil the name of the business on, and it'll be the, whatever game of the week, for example. And it could be anything. I mean, any other than the cost of the stencil, it doesn't really cost you anything. So if you got $300 or $400 in a stencil, and you can charge somebody a couple $1,000s or up to however much you can get, it's just revenue.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
And it's not intended to be dismissive, so
Sure.
please don't take it that way, but you've got FIFA partners, you've got NFL partners, you've got Division I partners. Why in the world are you at a high school in Nebraska?
Well, because there's only 32 NFL teams, okay? There's only 104 Division I's or 114, depending on what sport it is. There are thousands and thousands of parks and park and rec and high schools. Our partners may be what you see in the NFL and FIFA on TV, but our real partners are the high schools and the parks and recs. I mean, that's where we are. So we'll build 1,100 fields this year. Maybe 10 of them will be FIFA or NFL fields. So there's another 1,090 we got to build for somebody else.
and they're trying to get their footprint in Nebraska. So this, if we, obviously, would be their first in Nebraska, and I think you're doing Millard
Millard,
For-
doing
for-
four fields at Millard.
for baseball, right?
Yeah, and what's happened with Nebraska is, I mean, look, what rules Nebraska football? I don't think that's a big secret, right? And there's a company called Field Turf, which is a really good competitor of ours. They've been very, very strong in Nebraska for a number of years. They've always been the University of Nebraska's partner. We took that from them this year. So this is our chance to come into Nebraska and kind of change the narrative away from our competitor to us, because when you own the red, you own Nebraska, or at least you should. You should at least attempt to own it. So now that we have been in all of the Nebraska facilities, also getting ready to do their track in the next, as soon as track is over, that gives us some real momentum to be able to come into the state of Nebraska, where we really haven't had much of a presence.
Other questions? Going once?
Good?
Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate your time, fellas.
Yes, sir, thank you.
So a couple more, at least one more thing under this item. So as part of the contract, we gotta talk scope of work for Emmy Collins. Part of that scope of work is going to be track delivery. We discussed two options, asphalt and post-tension. Ideally, they would like to have direction by March 1st, so they can go out to bid, and they can have everything lined up. I didn't know if the board had any thoughts or any input as far as the track went. Because when Emmy Collins presented, they had presented an asphalt option. They did not present the post-tension option. I didn't know if that's the direction the board wanted to go, or if we needed more conversation.
Well, the thing I can't remember off the top of my head, and only a couple of us were in that. What was the cost difference between post-tension and asphalt? It was,
I don't wanna
Roughly.
say
Yeah,
it,
roughly.
but I would, if I remember correctly, it was in the neighborhood of 60% of the cost, asphalt to post-tension. For some reason, the numbers jump out of like 825, 875 for asphalt, and then well over $1 million on the post-tension. Do you remember it all in their
I don't know that we-
presentation?
We've never gotten numbers, and I thought the RFP was drafted in such a way that they're supposed to get us good numbers for both before we make a decision. Did we not draft that as an alternate, where they needed to give us pricing for both before we had to decide? So I guess it's a little surprising to me that they want to have a decision
Right.
by March 1st before there's any pricing associated. That's why
Right.
you do that RFP that way.
And
I thought they had a slide in there.
I thought they said that,
I think each of them had, one of the three had less information than the other two.
well, one of them said post-tension was $500,000 less than the other, or something like that, I don't know, I can't. Is it,
I would have to go back on those presentations and look. The only one I remember is Emmy Collins. but-
what'd they say? Would it be the one that would be the one that would,
Right, that's what I'm sharing. I think asphalt within that presentation, they said is about 60% of the
Yeah.
cost of post-tension.
Is it life of the track? Is that the difference? I mean, if you're spending that extra money?
Right, so
that's right.
there is, the school of thought is an asphalt track is gonna get you 30 years. And these are rough numbers, this is what the industry shares. Asphalt is gonna get you 30 years, post-tension concrete is thought to get you 50 years. The only slight hiccup with post-tension is there aren't any 50-year tracks out there yet, because it's only been around for 15 years.
And the track we currently have is obviously an asphalt track,
Correct.
and it's gotten us a good 30 years.
I would say it's past 30.
it's past 30,
I think
It's probably
in my
pushing 40.
opinion,
40 years,
we
I
would
would say,
be
where we're at.
saving our district a load of money to continue down with the asphalt path. It's-
So Renee, when you talked about they were supposed to give us the number to make a decision,
That's part of how they put numbers together. Before we can make a decision, I would want them to actually commit to some numbers, right?
for
When you do-
both one, right, for post-tension
Yeah,
and for.
when you do a presentation, it's just wild, here's my best guess.
Right.
Right, that isn't tailored to our project, so get us some numbers and then we'll decide whether the longer time period, which one's in our budget, what makes sense.
Okay.
Brandon, what are your thoughts?
Timeline-wise,
What are your thoughts about between the two? Maybe you have them.
Right, timeline wise, asphalt is going to fit better because that is what they're experienced in, that is what they have connections for. Length of time for the track, I don't have a solid opinion on that. I know that sales are gonna tell you post-tension will last longer. We've had a lot of luck with asphalt, so I'm not sure that there's something definitive there. But as far as Collins delivering a track, they definitely feel more comfortable going asphalt.
I would agree.
they can do the asphalt, if I remember from the presentation, they'll do the asphalt track. They would have to sub out the post-tension.
Correct.
Right?
Correct. They would self-perform the asphalt, they don't do any of the top
Yeah,
of the track, but they would do all the base work.
And if Collins shows from the RFP for qualifications, would we take their opinion?
I would agree.
Part. But I would like to see numbers before we jump off the line here. If at all possible.
Okay,
Other questions before progressing?
I would, I mean, obviously the track is the main priority, we know that has to get done. I would say 1A is quickly becoming the field when, and the more I hear about it from people that use it frequently, more frequently than I, as a volunteer coach. I mean, to seriously, the six of us, discuss the possibility of diving into that if funds are available and get it done in one shot instead of pushing it off. And, you know, if we can learn anything, if I can learn anything from past projects is, you know, the school had a bond issue that failed, what was it, 18? And we saw what the cost of that did to our district and the impact that had. If we wait much longer, we wait another year, you know, conservatively, you said 3 to 5%. We wait 2 years, it's more and more. I mean, I think we just need to have a discussion, maybe brief tonight about that. I mean, I might be crazy in my thinking, but I think we need to seriously consider doing it all together. At least somebody's saying crazy.
You're not crazy, but where's the money gonna come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, yeah. I mean, between, maybe that's the discussion, where's it gonna come from? We don't have any definitive numbers, but we do have contingency funds that would become available, some. We have, what we call it, the MCL refund, not refund.
Asset fund?
Sure, that's the fund.
Late
That would,
fees.
late fee, I mean, that would provide a really healthy start, if not, maybe cover it all. Between that and depreciation, I should say.
What happened to the donor funds that you guys were gonna raise through the foundation? It seems like that's how we should be paying for this.
I don't know if that's, I don't disagree, we should look to that, but it also, if it's a school need, we're not asking the donors to do the basic essentials in the school on a daily basis. I'm not
Grass is the need, right?
Yeah, but,
Yeah, but we don't even have-
but
we don't even
if
have
it's
that
a
out there right now.
classroom, at the end of the day, if it's a class, we consider it a classroom. I mean, it's just not football they're using it, PE, everyone uses it.
PE was out there today, or I would assume it was PE, I shouldn't say that. There was a classroom out there today.
I mean, how many touches did it get in a year?
A lot.
A lot. It's probably the most used classroom in the district. Tell me why you wouldn't wanna do it, Renee?
It's a money thing,
Okay,
right? We just did a $40 million renovation, right? We know we have to do the track. And so, again, show us some numbers.
I would agree with
Now we
that.
can make a decision. But I know one of the things that was committed, and one of the reasons why we're here as opposed to a year later, was the idea that the foundation could raise funds, if given until May of last year, to cover the turf, and I don't think we've
I
seen.
don't think we've ever had numbers though, I think that's boiled again, back to that word numbers, of what it's gonna cost.
Right, how much have we fundraised?
Yeah, how much
At
does it
all.
cost? Cause you,
Yeah,
I
it's tough
can't
to
go ask, I
fundraise.
can't go ask somebody for money if they don't know what the cost is gonna be. We don't have a cost.
No, and that's fair, but
We
that's
didn't
very,
even really have a,
that's very
project.
different
Project
from what was
even in place.
discussed.
I mean, the people that I've talked to from the foundation side, I wouldn't say every one of them, 75% roughly, would have said they would commit to a project if it involved that, if it came to that. Come back and talk to me when there is a project, something to look at, there's some cost behind it, what does company
What do the
X
numbers
get
look
for
like,
it?
total numbers?
I mean, I think if we could give this Brandon and his team some direction, or at least some flexibility in using some of the funds that would be coming back to us, I think that might, Brandon, and correct me if I'm wrong, I'll put words in your mouth, at least give you some discussion ability with M.E. Collins on having a proposal for the field, a proposal for the track at whatever that cost is, and then 1A is the field on top of that.
Right, what Collins discussed with me, kind of as part of the contract discussion, was we can contract for the track as the priority, and then make an amendment, an addendum, whatever, as sort of a phased effort to address the field in whatever form or fashion that's gonna be. So that is absolutely applicable, but determining what that means for the field, I think, is the bigger question in order for them to even design something.
We still also have the vestibule discussion because the money we borrowed was not for a field, right? So we still need to have a secure vestibule conversation with the money as opposed to putting it towards an artificial turf field.
Yeah, and I do recall the board meeting that we had, that we put the vestibules aside at one point, not to say we shouldn't still look at them, but we voted that down, not voted, maybe we discussed that down a long while ago, many months ago. That's why they weren't in the initial.
And my recollection was we were turning it over to the safety committee, the OST, to have a conversation because we bring in outside entities to participate on that team. And they had the conversation. Josh, maybe you can help with it because you were in that meeting. What did that conversation go like?
Yeah, I didn't remember when we shared that back in maybe November, December. But that information was inconclusive from that regard. At that point in time, then I put the board, I think maybe the entire board, in touch with Garrett Packett, and he had mentioned to me that somebody had made contact with him to potentially discuss what his thoughts were as a safety expert in the field. So I don't know where that conversation went or if it even evolved, but.
What did the committee determine in those meetings? Did anything get?
Well, the biggest point was some of the ideas of, the conversation was around the definition of secure vestibule, and what does that actually look like, and some, disagreements potentially with what the proposals, at least the drawings or renderings that we saw aligning with what that, the definition of secure, and then maybe with some redesign that would, make it better, et cetera. So there was a lot of conversation about that, but no real committal or no commitment from anybody on the team. I mean, one of the comments was, that sounds like a lot of money for what this looks like. So.
I think there was a comment too about the number of entrances into the school.
Well,
Wasn't that part of it too?
That's what the
I sat
police
on that
chief
committee
mentioned.
as well.
Okay.
Yeah, we talked about it. I mean, there's so many exterior doors here about having a secure vestibule around each one. Yeah, and the committee, we weren't really in favor of any of the current designs that MCL had given us. But I think the one comment that I remember specifically was, I think it was like $500,000, maybe something like that for the vestibules. But over 10 years, you could pay a school resource officer, $50,000 and have a security presence inside the building rather than a vestibule.
One thing Brandon, you and I talked about this, was I did not know this because I asked you about it last week, was every door in our school, besides maybe a couple of doors in elementary, has a camera on it. So the one thing I said to Brandon would be, why couldn't we put a system, it'd be a lot cheaper to basically, if that door opens, it sends something to the office and says, door 24 just opened, and they can look at that camera and that will tell who's coming in or going out of the school. And he said the only place we don't have them is the elementary. There might be a couple doors you thought maybe didn't have them.
I'm not positive on that.
But the high school and middle, we have every.
We have every in and out door monitored. I can't 100% say that every exit door, like those by the stairwells, I would have to look
See if there's a camera there.
at camera setup there.
So I think we need to run that down before we start spending money out of the funds we borrowed for school improvements.
So then the other question would be is, MCL has lots of penalties every day. And I remember you saying one time that it's gonna be tough to make them pay. Was it kind of what you said, attorney-wise, you have to go to court to get paid? Is that what, remember right? Something of that nature?
Litigation would
Litigation.
not be surprising to me.
You don't think they'll be willing to pay that? I mean, to pay,
Like, it depends on what the number is.
Because that'd be bonus money. That if, whatever that number could be, that could be used for something like for the turf. That's bonus money. That's not coming out of the construction. That's different money.
Yeah, I'm confident they're not just going to write us a check.
Have we asked them?
And we're gonna have a meeting with them at some point.
We have to get done first, and that's one of the action items coming up is the mechanical yard on the, second floor.
Oh, yeah, we can talk
We
about
gotta
that.
finish that, and then we go on to the other side of that coin, and that brings me to a question of, what's the timing look like? I mean, how long does that all take, 3-4 months before you know if you're getting any money back? And then all of a sudden, you're talking about June, as far as implementation of whatever.
Well, litigation can be years.
Yeah, that's longer than I was guessing. I figured 4 or 6 months.
Be ugly.
That's part of the, there's a lot of unknowns.
Yeah, I think you gotta proceed without taking that into consideration. You can't count on that money, you can't count on any specific amount, you definitely can't count on the timing. So you just gotta go with the finances that you currently have without tying anything to that. It'd be far too hopeful and ambiguous throughout. So I always think that the most important thing we probably have before us right now is just the safety of our buildings. I think that the safety committee has to get together and come up with a defined plan going forward. And then you know what we're gonna expend there. We definitely need a new track, but are we gonna build a new track and then put something on the infield with trucks driving over the brand new track, probably invalidating warranty on the track? And so the timing of those two things, it's either gotta happen together or the football field has to be the first thing if we're gonna do that. And so there's a lot of moving parts to this whole plan that I don't think we can figure out in 1 month.
No.
I think as part of the RFP, they said they can do that later. That can be phased without hurting the track. They just, one entry point. There was no indication that it would void
Good.
the warranty, so.
And I remember one of the contractors came in and talked about with a post-tension that was more possible than with an asphalt maybe. I can't remember what his opinion was on that, but.
Collins, they did say that they've done it the way that Renee just explained, where it was an
They
asphalt.
put barriers over the top and they'll still honor the warranty. I think that's what they said.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, that's not uncommon.
Robert, you've obviously, you're around a lot of school districts, Coach Fox, track coach. I mean, do you guys have a preference from what you've seen, you've competed on, or what you've heard from other folks? What would your preferences be based on educational?
In terms of,
Post-tension versus asphalt?
I think the long-term piece of post-tension, none of us have been around long enough since they've done post-tension concrete to see if you actually get 60 years out of a post-tension concrete track. Asphalt, I mean, we've gotten 50 years out of our asphalt base. Coach Fox, I mean, there's not a lot of people that do the post-tension. You're seeing a few more, but.
I think asphalt's adequate. I don't think there's any reason to spend, you're saying 50-60% more for something we don't know if it's gonna be around that long, doesn't make any sense. I mean, if you're talking about pinch and pennies and all of that, but you're getting more bang for your buck out of the asphalt is what it looks like to me.
I think you have a better chance to pair your football field and track if you go the asphalt route, just based off, the lower costs on the asphalt compared to post-tension concrete.
Other questions or comments?
Mr. Smith sitting back there, What do you think, Mr. Smith, since you're here tonight?
Well, I mean, just from the standpoint, I can't speak to the finances of the process that you guys have to do, but ultimately I know that the band program would benefit greatly from a turf field, from the standpoint, we lose hours of instruction time in our season just taking the band to the practice field and coming back. because we have to leave an amount of time that everyone can put their equipment away and things like that. So we lose a lot of instruction time, having the benefit of being able to consistently use the field with the upper vantage point of being able to look down at them. Because we've even looked at the cost of building or purchasing a tower and ensuring that. So we are at a severe disadvantage teaching marching band directly from the ground. And then dealing with muddy feet, the manpower hours of repainting the fields and things like that. So there is a ton of advantages of us being able to use the facilities with the turf field from the music standpoint. And with the addition of having a color guard and all that.
Thank you, Jason.
I think I know this answer, but with an rough asphalt numbers and depreciation funds available, do we come close to having enough funds to do everything with an asphalt field, I'm sorry, an asphalt track in a field this year?
No.
Not close.
If we go by rough numbers that have been shared, not drawn out or anything else, that asphalt track all in is gonna be 850 to $1 million. And then you're talking about another 1.1 to 1.5 for a turf field. Just out of depreciation, 1.5 has been earmarked for the track project. So if you got into a worst case scenario, let's say 1.1 for the track, 1.5 for the turf, you're $1 million short. Best case scenario, if I were to throw it out there and you got 1.1 for the turf and you got 800,000 for the track, now you're within 400,000 or 500,000.
Because it's unclear why we're talking about this. We need numbers. We need legitimate numbers. So I haven't heard anybody express a strong desire for post-tension concrete. So are we prepared to give direction to move forward with asphalt at this point so they can at least move forward with that? And then if and when we get some numbers,
We can talk more.
yeah.
Well, then, I'm good with that, I'll make a motion to,
Don't need a
It's
motion.
not an
It's-
action item.
oh,
One, it's not an action
Oh, it's
item,
not,
but
you're
two,
right,
it'll
right.
come through the contract, through approval of the contract.
is that tonight?
No. We will give.
We're gonna give them guide. we're
I'll
gonna
be
give-
able to
you're
give
gonna-
direction so they
okay.
can start design and do all those pieces, and then we can approve the contract in March.
Okay.
I'm
Sounds
good with
reasonable to
giving
me.
direction with asphalt, especially considering what we know and what we've heard and the cost savings. The cost comparatively, I should say, not savings. Can we have them put in some 1A or one, we'll call it 2, and there's just some numbers around the turf as well? Or
I will-
the field, I should say.
I'll reach out to them tomorrow.
And just as an FYI, none of that's in the design-build contract. You don't define the scope. That's the nature of it, design-build. You design. So that will not be part of the contract.
Explain that, I'm not going to follow you.
A design-build contract includes design, right?
Yeah.
All the way up through build. So there's no numbers, there's no necessary, part of design is you design the project. So your contract is to start the design process,
Gotcha.
not to define the
Gotcha.
final product. That would be a design bid build.
I'll make sure that's clear.
The contract they're using will automatically make that clear.
Okay.
Other questions? Comments? Move on. I don't know.
Committee reports.
Oh, yeah, committee reports. That's what I was highlighting. We heard from Building and Grounds, anything else from Building and Grounds? I didn't have any committee, any other committees, mate?
Negotiation, development,
Yeah.
cover,
We're gonna cover that, who move on to the E10.
Action items, 5.1, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action to renovating, the mechanical yard screen.
So part of the issue with the mechanical yard screen was the transparency. The idea of that screen in the first place was to help protect some of the eyesore of mechanical equipment and anything Cohen had stored back there. What they designed did not meet that. So they have come up with a couple of solutions. One solution would be to take everything down and then put up another product. The other solution would be to install that product on the inside of what's currently constructed, removing that line of sight. The difference is 20 to 25,000. My recommendation was to approve PCCO 98 at a cost 48,330. That 20 to 25 was going to be all the labor and disposal of what was already there.
I want them gone. I just want it done.
Yep.
Can we get it done and try and recoup some more later? Can we just get it done? Is that fair? Is that a fair assessment? So we can get them done, get them off the campus and then try and recoup some for just constantly running the gravel migrate. Questions or comments for Brandon about that said proposal?
I'll make the motion to approve PCC 098 at a cost not to exceed $48,330, funded through construction contingency.
Second. Anywhere? Someone?
Second that.
Discussion. Alyssa?
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob.
Yes.
5.2, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the proposed renovation to the first floor main hallway in the new addition.
Okay, that would be the hallway that runs from the entry at the west end down past the trophy case to the activity entrance, that polished concrete. We thought we had a solution with grinding and polishing. We were told that is not a solution. What MCL has agreed to do is put $55,000 towards the cost of terrazzo or whatever we wanted to do. What they are recommending is the terrazzo. So the cost to the district would be $58,655. The actual cost of the project would be $113,655, with MCL kicking in half of it.
Has that flooring been installed elsewhere as part of this project?
That specific terrazzo?
Yeah.
No, there's an epoxy that is in the locker rooms, but it would be slightly different than what's in there.
It's gonna be smoother probably than what's in the locker room, correct?
I think the concern you're gonna bring up is the multiple media of,
No, actually, it's
Okay.
not. It's just, do we know someone is going to install it right and not
Correct.
screw this up one more time?
right.
Why,
That's all. I just.
at this point, can't we get our, I mean, I guess maybe we can't, why don't we get our own bids? How do we know it's 114,000?
Which is what you brought up when
Yeah.
we talked.
How do we
There's
know
nothing
it's,
that says that we can't.
why would we get our own? It's our, we're paying for the first 58 anyway. What if it's, I mean, I hate saying this, but how do we know it's 114,000? At this point, we've been through this project, I don't know, do they know?
We're not at liberty to go find our own. We are subject to public bidding statutes.
Well, then let's go get bids.
And we have to advertise and.
What's the limit?
The only question I would have is, right now they're kicking in 55,000,
Yeah.
if they will still put 55,000
Ask
towards
them,
it.
I would ask the question.
Okay.
I mean, if they don't, then there's a problem. If they are, then, okay, then that's good. That makes me feel a little better, because they're willing to still put the money in, but if they're not gonna, what if they say, no, we're not gonna kick the money in now?
Yeah, we know what the markup is.
Yeah.
When would this work be done, Brandon?
The mechanical screen would be this spring, the flooring would not happen until the summer. I think The last time we talked, I think it was 16 uninterrupted days that they needed access.
Does it have to happen? I mean, I know it probably doesn't have to, but we,
I think I asked that question the other day.
Structurally and functionally, no. Aesthetically, my opinion is yes.
yes, it is.
I just want them out of the building, just in case somebody's first time. I just want it done, and done. But, whatever everybody decides we can do.
Well, if we can't do it until the summer anyway,
Yeah.
I guess you could have the conversation, we can bring it back next month so we can close this down.
Make sure you find out if we get our own contractor that has any warranty, please.
What we probably want to consider is not having our own contractor, but having them go under MCL. So it just
So we can
really
get our own
shortens
bids
the
and still have them
process.
go under MCL,
That would be the ask. That's what I would ask
but
them.
they don't have to allow that. Or do they? Are they contractually bound to allow that?
Well,
I wouldn't think so.
no, they don't have to, but they do have to get 3 bids under the terms of the contract, so we can hold them
Right.
to doing their part
Okay,
if they don't want to play ball.
okay, yeah.
So
Thank you
we
for
have tools.
clarification. So we're gonna just go ahead and table 5.2? Let's move on. 5.3, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the 26-27 negotiated agreement between the Wahoo Education Agency and the Board of Education.
So it's attached there. I'm gonna highlight the pieces that will look differently. First of all, base salary is up $1,000, up to $41,250. The agreement was to freeze the cash in lieu at $8,645.28 from 26-27 going forward. There's no offer of cash in lieu for new employees, nor is there the ability to get off cash in lieu and then come back to it if you currently utilize that route. There is added language for bereavement leave. There's added language for advertising and interviewing certificated positions. And then there's added language regarding in-service time and working off campus. Negotiation committee, anything?
I thought that the freeze was 25, 26 going forward.
425. is what they
24,
told
25
us.
goes, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
This is for 2 years, right?
No.
1 year?
Next school year.
You guys, what'd you get out of it? What were things that they wanted that we said no? Is there anything that we did not, couldn't get close to agreeing on?
I would say it was a vigorous negotiation, longer than any that I've been involved in. And both sides gave in on things, but I think that maybe we were more generous with them than they were with us.
What was the stipulation, explain this to me, just so I understand it right, on the advertising certificated positions?
So the stipulation is we advertise in-house before we put it out publicly outside the district, and that there's at least one certificated staff member on every interview committee,
Don't we do that now, for the most part?
99.9% of the time.
That's just for that point one.
Didn't sound like a big change, I thought maybe I was reading it. Okay, other questions?
Sorry, one more thing. Overall package increase was 3.71%. I have that there at the bottom. That takes into account salary, insurance, social security, and retirement contributions.
Other questions or discussion?
When do the health insurance renewal come?
They typically come out the end of October.
October?
Yep, they went up 7.75, 7.75, I think.
Okay. What are our total annual premium for health insurance for the district that we pay?
I will get that number to you. I don't have it off the top of my head.
You have an idea? Wow, that's fine. You said 155,000 times 12.
Yeah.
25,
Works out like
1.86. to approve the 26-27 negotiated agreement with certificated staff as presented.
Second that.
Further discussion? Alyssa?
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
5.4, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on the 26-27 school calendar.
Not a ton of changes. I will highlight what I have that I think might be significant. You'll see that kids start on the 20th of August. Essentially, it's probably a 1 week longer summer than some calendars have been in the past. There's 4 work days at the beginning of the year. We're gonna allocate one of those days to check all the boxes on unfunded mandates, trainings, videos, all that stuff that teachers have to do. Because with 3 days, we're finding it tough to fit those in around meetings, around planning time, around everything else. So we'll just have 1 day dedicated to it. You see we went away from the Wednesday early outs. Teachers' input was the full days are far more effective than trying to scramble around for 2 hours of in-service time. In December, we go until the 22nd, which is a little later than what it was this year. And then we are back with teachers on the 5th. Last day right now is scheduled to be for kids the Thursday and teachers the Friday before Memorial Day. 5 snow days are built in, so we'll pull that calendar back if we don't use all our snow days. It also includes 1 summer day like we've had in past calendars.
This is the first year, this calendar year is the first year that, I'm sorry, this school year is the first that we are doing graduation the week later.
Correct.
What has been the input on that? Have you gotten much feedback?
Not really. But I don't get feedback, I get questions, but I haven't heard anything significant one way or another.
I'll make a motion to approve the 26-27 school calendar as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Alyssa?
Alex,
Yes.
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yes.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di.
Yes.
5.5, discuss, consider, and take any necessary action on personnel hirings and/or resignations. Brandon?
Okay, so we have some retirement letters there attached. Jason Iverson, middle school math, Larry Fangman, high school English, language arts, Lori Anderson, 5th grade, Lori Pearson, 4th grade. Accidentally included John Harris again, but that has been taken care of. So we've got those 4 retirements that have been turned in that would need your action on. It'll take 2 different motions, but I'm just gonna talk and then you guys can do your motions or ask questions. The other thing that we have is approve the hire of Emily Novak for the 26-27 school year. That would be a high school math position. Mr. Galladay, you got anything to add?
We're really excited about the number of applicants we had, and we felt like we had 4 really quality interviews, and Emily rose to the top of that with everybody on the committee. We're super excited about her being part of the staff.
Is your resume included? Normally we get a resume.
Yes,
Down
you do.
here?
I don't see it.
Can you send that out?
Yep, if you, sure will.
If you'd like a resume, I can send you one right now, probably.
No, that's fine if we can just take a look at it.
Okay.
We can do that. We can do all at once.
You can do all the retirements at once, yes, but the hiring of Emily has to be
That's
separate.
fine.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to accept the retirement for Jason Iverson, Larry Fangman, John Harris, Lori Anderson, and Lori Pearson.
Second.
Discussion? Alyssa?
Renee,
Yes.
Brett,
Yep.
Bob,
Yes.
Mike,
Yes.
Di,
Yes.
Alex,
Yes.
there a motion to approve the hire of Emily Novak for the 26-27 school year?
So moved.
For a second?
Second.
Discussion? Melissa?
Renee?
Yes.
Brett?
Yes.
Bob?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
Di?
Yes.
Alex?
Yes.
Items for next meeting? So
Do you
we
hire-
got-
Are we close to hiring any new ones? Wow, but
Yeah.
we have-
We actually have some that accepted today, that'll go
good.
on next month. I'm gonna knock on wood, I don't anticipate any issues with the current positions we have, independent of any other resignations we might see. As a reminder, March 15th, but it's March 16th this year, is the last day for staff to let us know that they have other plans, unless the board chooses to let them out of their contract. Stuff for next meeting, I've got a board self-assessment, getting some more solid numbers from Emmy Collins, the safety committee to make recommendations, that may not be next month, but we will work towards that end. Getting design build contract finalized, I need to talk to Tony and make sure we get a meeting set up, and then I need to send you guys Emily Novak's resume. Anything I missed?
The 2 buses, they
Yeah.
kind of fell away the last 2 months.
Yeah, still in the process.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
because I know it was
It-
gonna be, and then we never did.
Correct,
talk about
it's,
it. Okay.
it's on the radar, Cohen's working through it.
Do we establish a rate for preschool?
I worked through it with Ben.
That was, we were gonna talk, that would be on there this time.
No, because we weren't putting it in policy.
Right, but by the next
Let
meeting,
me-
we thought we'd have,
Yep. I will
just email it.
email it to you, I apologize for that. Yeah, Ben and I worked through that.
Brandon, did you mention reaching out to MCL about that floor?
That's in my Tony note. Yep, thank you.
Anything else for next meeting? Going once, going twice. Is there a motion to adjourn?